Welcome to another round of AITAH stories. Story 1. Am I the AH for telling my boyfriend's kids to eat what's for dinner or don't eat at all? I 27F have been with my boyfriend 30 for a little over a year now. We recently moved in together. I have an 8-year-old from an ex, and my boyfriend has 2 kids, ages 6 and 9. Since we moved in together, I now have his children every weekend, and he works Fridays, so I am alone with them till he is off work. Friday night I made meatloaf with roasted broccoli and mashed potatoes. My son eats well. He knows to eat the best he can, and if he don't finish his food, that's okay, but he at least has to eat the most he can unless he don't want a before bedtime snack. I hold my boyfriend's children to these same rules, which we haven't had any issues with till Friday night. Neither of the kids liked the food. The 9-year-old ate it, the 6-year-old refused, in which I said I'm not making you another meal, so he went to bed without dinner. When my boyfriend got home, his 6-year-old was complaining he was hungry, and my boyfriend got upset with me that I refused to make him something else. I told him I wouldn't hold his children to different rules than my child. He got upset and ended up making him something else to eat, then told me that was horrible of me to deny a child dinner and blamed it on his young age, explaining I had to be more lenient. I explained that I had raised a young child before, and I was once a young child and followed those same rules, which just resulted in a huge argument, and him calling me ignorant. Today we got a call from my boyfriend's ex, and now the children don't want to come till Saturday or Friday night late when my boyfriend is off work. This caused another big argument between my boyfriend and I. He once again called me an ignorant a-hole and said I needed to change my way of thinking. Am I the AH? Add. I did not force this kid to go to bed hungry. I suggested him to eat a larger portion of his mashed potatoes and smaller portion of other things which he refused, and he didn't want to make anything else himself. Story 2. Am I the AH for sending my little sister a vet bill after she tried to get my horses to breed? I, 33F, am a horse breeder and own 10 horses. I have a little sister, 19F, who was a surprise baby for my parents. They didn't think they could have more after me, so she is quite babied even now. They begged me to take her on to help her get some work, and I agreed, but made it clear she'd have to work hard and there would be no slacking. She has generally been fine with it and enjoys being around the horses, though I do have to light a fire under her arse at times to get her to keep working. The problem, however, arose when a local animal rescue asked me to help them. They had a stallion surrendered to them, and they didn't have the capabilities to take care of him. I had room, so agreed to take him. I've also arranged a full genetic testing on him to ensure he's all right, as it seems like he was gotten through backyard breeders. I've also made an appointment to have him gelded, as I don't know enough about him to risk him not being gelded. He has his own paddock and is kept in a separate stable than my own horses just to be safe. I'm slowly socializing him, but I'm taking no risks. I've been letting my sister sit in on my breeding planning for 2025, and my main stars are going to be Dante and Willow. They've had 4 successful and healthy foals who are going to go into dressage. I know they work well together, and Willow has had a 2-year break, so she'll be ready to go again this year. The first warning bell I overlooked was that my sister asked about the new stallion and when I'd be breeding him. I explained he'd not be bred as there was too many unknowns. I don't know his health, and I don't have a good enough grasp of his temperament. She protested that he was pretty though, prettier than Dante, and I explained there was more to this than looks. I thought she'd understood and didn't think further on this. Yesterday an emergency came up, and I had to leave my sister alone for an hour. I told her she could take an hour break. When I came back, I found to my horror she'd put Willow into the paddock with the new stallion. I asked her what the fuck she was doing, and she told me she just thought they'd work well together, and she was doing me a favor. I got Willow out of there, but not before the new stallion bucked and reared quite a bit from stress. I got Willow out of there, then set about calming him down. I told my sister to get home and not come back, shouting at her quite a bit. I then had a vet come out and check them both fully to ensure they'd not hurt each other. My one relief is Willow isn't in estrus yet. I had the bill sent to my sister at my parents' house. They called me today in a panic asking what the hell this was. When I explained, they told me I was being unfair and she didn't understand, that she couldn't pay this and was being cruel, and my sister was crying. I told them she did understand, she just didn't care, that she could pay or they could pay, but I wasn't. They are freaking out over how they'll afford this. Am I taking it too far? Story 3. Am I the AH for telling my sister-in-law to get out of my daughter's baby shower? I, 47F, have a daughter, 25. She is currently 26 weeks pregnant with her second child, a girl. Her first child, Philip, was stillborn 2 years ago at 38 weeks, a little boy. When she lost him, she asked us to take apart the nursery before she got home and get rid of the baby equipment. She saved his baby book, his ultrasound photos, and the outfit she planned to bring him home in, along with a lock of his hair in a memory box. She'd had a baby shower for Philip when she was pregnant, but her grief around his death was so strong that she couldn't handle having the nursery and baby things. We offered to return the baby shower gifts to the givers, most kindly refused, and asked us to donate the items, except my husband's sister, Rachel, 43. She made a huge deal out of my daughter being hysterical and constantly, loudly talked about how ridiculous it was to take apart the nursery. We kept her away from my daughter and only allowed her to return to family functions when she promised to stop bringing it up. We recently held a baby shower for my daughter's new baby girl. Rachel, along with the rest of my husband's female relatives, was invited. She kept making quiet remarks to everyone that we were tacky for having a baby shower for a second child. But since she didn't get near my daughter, I ignored it. When my daughter began opening gifts, it hit the fan. She loudly said, "If you hadn't torn Philip's nursery apart and gotten rid of everything, you wouldn't be here begging for presents for this baby." Update: we are having a family meeting without Rachel, while my daughters and their partners are away at Hot Springs this weekend. We'll update again after the meeting. Update 2. The meeting went well. My husband and I gave a brief summary of what happened, backed up by witnesses. The relatives that couldn't make the shower are now aware of what happened. The family consensus is that Rachel is unequivocally to blame and should not be allowed to be around my daughters or their kids. Other people in the family brought up issues they've had with her in the past along similar lines, especially involving pregnancy and kids. Rachel will no longer be included in large family gatherings. Those who want to continue a relationship with her will do so on their own and have been informed that advocating for Rachel to be forgiven and included or feeding her information about me, my husband, or our kids and grandchildren will result in us going no contact with them as well. My mother-in-law has apologized profusely for making the remarks about being sad that she won't have both of her children under her roof for the holidays anymore. We have accepted her apology because her feelings are valid and this is sad for her. Thank you so much for all your support. I will update when my granddaughter is born, if y'all would like. Story 4. AMI the AH for cooking a family dinner with mushrooms when my husband doesn't like them, expecting my husband to pick them out. I'm aware my husband is not a fan of mushrooms, however I am, and I want my toddler exposed to them. I cooked a mushroom carbonara and made a vegan version for my husband, but decided not to chop the mushrooms into decimation in this instance, thinking it's no hardship for him to pick them out, should he decide he doesn't want to eat them. During dinner, his manner appeared unimpressed taking the mushrooms out, so I apologized for not chopping the mushrooms up smaller. I was already making 2 versions of the same dinner. I thought he might like them as they were baked in Marmite. He then said it's fine, I would never eat these, I don't like the texture, the flavor, especially not lumps like this. This annoyed me as I felt he was being ungrateful, but I also then felt guilty, which personally I think his response was designed to do. After dinner we were cleaning up and he said in a blunt tone, "Do me a favor and don't cook me a meal like this with mushrooms again." I thought this was really rude and told him so, but he disagrees and thinks I was selfish cooking him a dinner with mushrooms when I should know he doesn't like them. My explanation to this was that he knew this was a meal I had planned this week, as I explained I would make his vegan, and he didn't tell me he would rather I not cook that for him or ask me to decimate the mushrooms. He said he was just being honest, to which I said there are many ways he could have phrased or raised that without being rude and ungrateful. He says I should have just said yes, no problem, I won't cook that again. I think he was a rude arsehole. His opinion is I was angry and caused an argument through my guilt of cooking him the mushrooms. AMI the AH here? To clarify, the recipe was a vegetarian mushroom carbonara. I made a vegan version for my husband. He had previously used mushrooms himself but cut them different. He has also previously told me he doesn't like them, but eats them because they are good for him. He also knew this was a meal for the week and had not asked me to leave the mushrooms out prior to me cooking it. Also, we work the same hours, and I am the one to ensure we have food in and meal plans for each week. Story 5. AMI the AH for refusing to help my best friend with her wedding because she didn't make me a bridesmaid? My best friend, 24F, we'll call her May, and I, 24F, have been close since middle school. We've talked about being in each other's weddings, so when she got engaged last year, I assumed I'd be a bridesmaid. She recently asked me to help with the wedding planning, but when she showed me the list for her bridal party, I wasn't on the list. I asked why, and she got awkward and said she had to make some choices. The party included her sister, her fiance's sister, and a few newer friends she's known for a couple of years. She wanted a small party. I didn't want to make it a big deal though. I congratulated her and figured I'd still be a guest. But then she started asking me for a lot of help, Things like dress shopping, DIY decorations, venue hunting, making party favors, etc., etc. I finally told her, "Hey, I love you, but I feel weird doing all of this when I'm not even a bridesmaid." She got angry and said that she thought I'd still want to be involved because we're best friends. I told her I'd still be at the wedding, but I wasn't gonna do all of this extra work when she didn't even consider me close enough to be at her bridal party. Now she and some of our mutual friends are giving me the cold shoulder, saying I'm being petty and making the wedding about me. But I'm not gonna be doing bridesmaid level work if I'm not one. Am I the AH? Story 6. Am I the AH for telling my SIL to stop texting me? I, 31F, have a SIL, who I will be referring to as Opal in this post, who is 10 years old. My husband and I have been together for 16 years, so I've been around for Opal's entire life. As a result, we are very close. Opal texted me the other day and asked me if we could go get mini donuts. This has been something we do together a lot over the years, nothing new for us. I told her that my pregnancy sickness was bad, so I couldn't do it this time, but when I'm feeling better we can go. But Opal didn't like that answer, so she kept texting me, spamming emojis and the word please, over and over again. I told her firmly that I'm not feeling well, so if she wanted donuts she'd have to go with her mom or her dad. Again, more whining and complaining. I tried talking to her calmly again, and she wasn't having it. So eventually I snapped and told her to stop texting me. Cue the "you hate me" texts and running to her mom crying about me being mean. MIL is mad at me now. She says that I was too harsh with Opal and that I should respect her feelings more as she grows into a young lady. And that I've ruined the lines of communication by asking her to stop texting me. Am I the AH for telling my SIL to stop texting me? Story 7. Am I the AH for taking an Uber home instead of sitting on a man's lap? So my best friend, Sarah, F22, recently got a new boyfriend, James, M23, and she is over the moon into him. Sarah is one of the very few people I hang out with. She recently just met James' friend group, a group of guys, and they invited her to go on a beach trip with them. Sarah begged me to go with and kept insisting I join even when I declined the offer about 4 times. Eventually, I just agreed to go to get her off my back about being sad and alone. I was told that I would have a ride. Sarah and I were the last to be picked up, and when they pull up, there are 4 guys in a 5-passenger car. I see this as my way out. I say, "Oh, looks like there isn't enough room for both of us. You can go enjoy the beach with your boyfriend. I don't mind staying behind." Sarah tells me that it isn't a big deal if she has to sit on James's lap to make it work. Immediately I feel on edge. Turns out, James was the one driving and said he wouldn't trust anyone else to drive his car. He told me that I would be the one sitting on someone's lap because there's no way that he would let Sarah do that. I don't know these guys at all. I pull Sarah aside and tell her that I am uncomfortable, thinking that she would help me out. Instead, she encourages me, saying that she thinks I would have fun and maybe even get a date. She is so into James and has been talking about this trip non-stop for over a week, so I decided to just do it to make her happy. 2 of the 3 guys in the back, Sarah sits up front next to James, offer up their laps. I just picked the guy with the most legroom. We live about 45 minutes from the nearest beach, so I thought it wouldn't be too bad, except that I was told on the drive that we were actually going to a beach an hour and a half away instead. My mood just becomes more and more sour. I never once relax, and eventually find myself quietly fuming once my emotions set in. The boys that I am squeezed into the back with just talk around me, physically leaning over me constantly, brushing up against me. Once we get to the beach, we set up, and I finally find a moment to relax. I eat a sandwich, I packed and read a book, while Sarah and James are lovey-dovey, and the guys mess around in the ocean. I was asked twice about why I only packed a sandwich for myself. Not jokingly either. Not once had I been asked to bring a single thing. When it came to the part where everyone was getting in the car, I just told James and Sarah that I had called an Uber to pick me up because I didn't want to sit on anyone's lap for another hour and a half. Sarah tried to argue, but my ride showed up, so I left. I got a call from Sarah a few hours later. She called me a bad friend for ditching everyone. When I told her how the whole day was making me feel shitty, she told me I was being selfish and that I had been acting like a bitch all day. I do not think I deserve that, but I am also pretty paranoid that I did something wrong. Am I the AH? Story 8. Am I the AH for telling my husband his effort is bad? Okay, for context. Last year, my husband went to a party with his colleagues and things went overboard. He managed to get way too drunk and told the only woman at his job that he didn't know if he wanted to marry me. He then lied about it later, and I got so sad. We ended up getting married, but now I'm of course regretting it because I'm with someone I can't trust. I was willing to work on it. Everyone makes mistakes, right? Well, fast forward to yesterday. He's in another country on a work trip, and this was his golden opportunity to finally show me that he can be trusted. He promised to call, send pictures, etc. I knew he was out with his colleagues at a bar and told him, "I'm going to bed." He suddenly called and my face lit up. I got so happy. It seemed like he actually listened to my needs, but I could tell something was off. He wasn't really into the conversation. It was kind of awkward and rushed. I could tell he wanted to hang up the second I heard his voice. The call ended and I told him it felt off. It was effortless. He got mad and said nothing he ever does is good enough for me. And then he told me he shouldn't have called at all and that it was his little brother's idea to make me happy. What the fuck? Now he's guilt-tripping me and saying he never does anything right and should not have called. I should be happy he called at all. I told him I just wanted effort. AMI the AH? Story 9. AMI the AH for not letting my husband attend his sister's wedding? My husband, 31M, and myself, 28F, are expecting our first child this May 2025. We found out very early in September 2024. We did not keep this a secret from anyone and, in fact, shared the news in person with his family and my family on the day we found out. During this period, his sister, 29F, was getting to know someone and getting engaged in October 2024. It's sort of an arranged marriage, as she was set up and decided to get engaged only after 3 months of speaking to the guy. Her parents, my in-laws, were happy that she liked him and wanted to quickly move forward. She's been wanting to get married for the past 5 years. After the engagement party in October, there was a brief discussion of when the wedding would be. His sister had mentioned that she wanted to be married by no later than April 2025. After our initial OB visit in September, my husband had mentioned to his parents that I would not be able to travel after 34 weeks as per the doctor. His mother decided to ignore this information and not address it. His sister and mother decided to plan on having the wedding in April 2025, even though they had not booked anything. His sister's fiancé lives in Texas, a 3.5 hours flight away. I briefly mentioned that I would not be able to attend in April as it would be too close to my due date, but wished them all the best in their planning. February 2025 rolls around, and they decided to have the wedding this upcoming April 19th of 2025 in Texas. I tell my husband that because I will be almost 37 weeks pregnant, that we would definitely not be able to go. A month prior, during a huge fight we had, his mom had told him it's okay if I don't go, but that he would have to attend. At the time, I was not opposed to it, as I thought it would be fine. 2 weeks ago we met with my OB, and I decided to ask her for advice while he was also in the room. I asked her for confirmation that it's not a problem if he were to travel during my 37th week. She looks at both of us and says, "Absolutely not." We both stare at her, shocked, and she continues and says, "This would be like rolling a dice. I would not recommend it. If something were to happen, I would not be able to slow anything down." He unenthusiastically agrees and says it's messed up that they picked a date knowing we most likely would not be able to attend. It's now almost April, and he just told his mother that we will both for sure not be able to attend. My husband and in-laws have a huge fight, and he explains the situation so his dad threatens that he wouldn't attend either if he's not at the wedding. I don't budge after he tells me this, and calmly state that he simply cannot attend 2 weeks before my due date, as we're both having this baby together. So AMI the AH for not letting him attend his sister's wedding? Story 10. AMI the AH for telling my BIL that his sister is a stranger to me, which my own sister said was insensitive to his childhood experiences? For anonymity, I will call my sister Emma, her husband Chris, and Chris's sister Zoe. Chris and Zoe went into the system and were separated at a young age. Chris signed up for an online DNA registry so possible relatives could reach out, which led to Zoe finding him. Based on the reasoning she gave for reaching out now, I have serious suspicions as to what her real intentions are for reaching out. But even giving her the benefit of the doubt, it's been only a few months and is still too soon for me. I will say that Zoe seems nice, but it hasn't been long. I don't know what kind of person she is or how stable this relationship is, which is why I am not comfortable introducing my children to her beyond shared holiday events, or having them interact with Zoe beyond that capacity. Emma and Chris are pushing me to get the kids more involved, specifically shared auntie days and playdates with the cousins since me and Zoe's kids are similar in age. I tried to be polite, but my sister and BIL keep finding ways around it, so I decided to be truthful. I explained to Emma and Chris why I was not comfortable with my kids interacting with Zoe beyond special occasions, which led to a disagreement. They said that they want Zoe and her kids to feel included by the entire family, especially given Zoe's circumstances. My children have already experienced trauma related to losing family members. What if I let them get attached to their auntie and cousins? Bill and his sister decide to have a falling out, and then Zoe and her kids suddenly vanish from our lives. I have to be cautious for my kids' sake and consider how they will be affected. I told Emma and Chris that I will reconsider if it is proven with time that this connection is stable and honest on Zoe's end. But, frankly, Zoe is a stranger, and the needs of my kids come before a stranger and her kids. Chris asked me to leave, and Emma later berated me over the phone. She said it was my right to have opinions, but what I said was incredibly insensitive to Chris's childhood experience. She says I have shown a lack of empathy towards Chris and should consider how he feels growing up without family and now having the family he found reject Zoe and him by extension. I will not apologize for setting a boundary of putting my kids first. However, is Emma right that the way I said it was unacceptable and my statement was insensitive to Chris's childhood experience? Am I the AH? Story 11. Am I the AH for helping my brother-in-law with custody of his child? Little backstory. I, 23F, and my husband, 22M, have been together for 4 years now. His brother, we will call him Jack, 25M, is with his girlfriend. We will call her Liz, 24F. They have a shared child. Liz lives in a really bad neighborhood with her child. She lives with her parents and refuses to leave. Jack had his own apartment with everything needed for his child there. Liz did not want to move into the apartment they had. She said she was not ready to move out. Jack, my brother-in-law, works to provide for his family. He has been staying with her family so he could be with his child since she would not move. Nobody in her home works, so Jack is paying all of her family's bills. He is providing everything for their child. Liz decided she wanted Jack to leave one night because they were arguing. She started an argument over something that happened before their relationship. She has been continuously texting Jack mean and threatening messages. She refuses to let Jack see their child. She will not make an agreement by themselves as she wants to have her kid every day. But she has admitted because of things she does, she knows she'll lose their child and Jack would get full custody. I have offered to help cover attorney fees for Jack. I am in a position where I can. My husband says I'm the asshole for helping him pay for his attorney in this situation. Am I the AH? Update. I am sorry I left a lot of details out of the post, so instead of Liz raising their child while Jack is at work, Liz's mom takes care of the child even though Liz is home. One reason she did not want to move out is because of the fact her mom would not be able to help her on a daily basis. The information I have received regarding the situation is from Bill and some of Liz's family. The argument started over something that happened way before they were even together, but Liz brought it up to start an argument. Liz said that Jack needs to apologize for something he did years ago that is not involving Liz. Every time Bill tried to stop the argument by begging Liz to stop, she would not. Bill blocked Liz because she was saying so many mean things to her. He then unblocked her, and she apologized and then went back to saying so much hurtful things to Jack. I have seen the text messages between both parties. My husband is scared for us to put of money into Bill court fees because he does not want it to cause drama with any of the parties involved. Bill can afford 95% of the attorney and court fees, but needs help with just a little of it. Now Liz is trying to convince Bill to drop the whole thing and come back. She said things would come out in court that Bill is unaware of, and she would not even be able to see their child if it did. I am wanting what is best for my nephew and want him to be safe. I do not want my nephew in a situation that is by any means unsafe and not stable as theirs. A lot of people that come in and out of Liz's house all day every day. Story 12. Am I the AH for asking my friend to bring her own food when she asks to come over? My friend has a pretty big appetite, and when she comes over, she frequently eats many of my groceries. I am on a limited budget, and I cannot afford to feed her appetite. When she comes over, she will typically eat $40 to $60 worth of groceries. I am all for feeding my guests refreshments and providing snacks and meals, and I only invite my friends over when I'm in the financial position to host. The friend in question asks me almost weekly if she can come over. She usually says she's having a hard time and needs a friend. I am always hesitant to have her over because of the amount of my groceries she helps herself to. If I have a full multi-pack of food, she will leave me with 1 or 2s, in addition to having whatever else she finds in my fridge or pantry. I recently addressed my concern with her and told her that if I invite her over, I plan on providing snacks/meals. However, if she asks to come over, she needs to provide her own food. She did not take this well and felt I was shaming her eating habits. She does have a tendency to find comfort in food and often struggles with overeating, and pointed out that I didn't have this rule for my other friends, to which I tried to explain was because they never ate so much that I felt the need to implement any kind of rules/restrictions. She said I was an AH for shaming her for her biggest insecurity, and for singling her out by creating rules for her that I don't have with other friends. I knew she struggled with food but still asked if she could supply her own snacks and meals when she asked to come over. Am I the AH? Story 13. Am I the AH for not drinking the wine my soon-to-be in-laws brought to dinner? Or is their annoyance just a symptom of something more? Sunday was a big day for me, M23, and my fiancé, M26, as we invited his parents, our best men, and their wives over for Sunday lunch to tell them about our planned wedding. I wanted to make it a special occasion, so I cooked a proper Sunday roast with beef for them. I'm vegetarian. Josh's parents have known we were a couple for some time, and we were hoping that they would be excited about the plans. They have been okay about Josh and me as a couple, but I've never been sure that they had really processed him marrying me, so this might be the issue. Anyway, they all came to church with us in the morning, even though his parents were not churchgoers, and his parents met some of our church family. Then, we went home, and I finished cooking lunch. Josh's dad brought in a bottle of Pinot Gris, and I popped it in the fridge. When I served lunch, I put his bottle on the table, along with a couple of bottles of Bin 95. Over lunch and during the afternoon, we opened a couple of other bottles of the Penfolds. After lunch, he commented how everyone had drunk the Burgundy, not his wine, and that I hadn't passed it around. This wasn't true, as I had had a glass, but it wasn't the greatest, so I switched to the Burgundy. When they left, he asked if there was any Pinot Gris left, and he took the half-empty bottle home with him, saying how much he liked it, even if no one else did. During the afternoon, we went through with everyone our plans for a wedding in summer, a small church service in Cambridge, a small reception for a few family and friends, and then a masked ball in the evening of the following day. We wanted the marriage to be really low-key, but the party to be big and very gay. I have hosted a big gay summer party every year since I was 18, so combining our wedding and the party makes sense. They seemed okay about the service, but his dad really wasn't comfortable with a ball the following day, commenting that they would have to stay an extra day in Cambridge and it wouldn't be their thing. They tried to convince us not to do it and just have the wedding. I made it clear that all of the wedding guests would be our guests, and that we had already booked 30 rooms in the hotel for 3 nights, so all of them could stay and not be worried about hotels or budgets. Later in the evening, Josh's phone blew up, with his dad accusing me of trying to belittle him, and that I was showing off with my fancy wines, big house, and summer ball. Josh had to go back to Exeter for work on Monday morning, so we've had no time to process together, and he is on back-to-back doubles until tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm stuck here reading his messages with his dad, where he's being pilloried for all sorts of crap about his relationship with me that isn't anything to do with the wedding. Am I the AH for not taking into account his dad's views, or is he just working out his gay anxiety on me before accepting how it is? Edit. It seems I read this wrong, and I'm pretty insensitive about money, which mostly you have concluded that I'm blind to. When I told Josh this on WhatsApp, he just laughed and said of course it is. To quote him, I am a quote, lanky, lovable giant genius, and at the same time, a dumb fuck who is intimidating to mere mortals. Want to hear more controversial AITAH stories? Subscribe now and stay updated. Story 14. Am I the AH if I tell my sister not to listen to our parents? My sister wants to be a doctor, so she's looking for internships, programs, etc. to help prepare high school students for a career in medicine. She is very, very smart, and I have no doubt she will eventually become a doctor. We are biracial, but look very white. Our mother is Colombian, and our father is from the UK. This is important. There is a mentorship program at a university near us that is for BIPOC students interested in a career in medicine. BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. Our parents want her to apply to this program, but I don't think she should. These types of programs are for people who face systemic inequalities. They give opportunities to those who have been historically marginalized and offer them additional support to thrive in fields where they are underrepresented. For example, Black doctors are a minority. I'm thinking about it in an ethical way for sure. My sister does not want to apply either because she agrees with me, but our parents will make her apply. It would be like if I were to apply for a program designed to help blind students excel in university just because I wear glasses. I technically would meet the criteria because I don't have perfect vision, but the program's intent is to help blind people. Am I the AH for telling my sister what to do? Story 15. Am I the AH for telling my mother-in-law if she keeps asking about our baby's name, she won't see her for an additional week every time she asks? I, 21F, am currently 39 weeks pregnant, due next Thursday. Over the course of my pregnancy, I have had several issues with my MIL, the two biggest being her wanting to be in the delivery room when I give birth, even though I have made it clear since the beginning, the only person I want there is my husband. It got to the point where I decided I didn't want any visitors at the hospital, not even my parents, because she threw a fit about them coming after baby was born. However, the biggest issue has been her wanting to know the baby's name. Baby is going to be named after my grandfather, who I have been extremely close to my entire life. Because of this, we decided to keep it a secret so it could be a surprise to him once she is born. My MIL even went as far as snooping through my hospital bag to try and find either the sweater or the Welcome to World sign that has her name on it. Luckily, I caught her before she found them. Yesterday, she called my husband again asking why she can't know the name, even going as far saying, "What if something happens to me and I never get to know my baby's name?" For reference, she is in good health and does not work a dangerous job. After my husband informed me of this conversation, I called my MIL and told her as of now, she will not meet the baby for at least 3 weeks after she is born, and each time she asks about the name after this point will be an additional week she will not meet her. She says I am being cruel and denying her baby, so AITAH, for telling my MIL if she continues to ask about my baby's name, I will not allow her to meet the baby for another week. Story 16. Am I the AH for lying to my friend about her looks and crush? There's this friend of mine. Let's call her Ash. Ash is one of my best friends in school, and I enjoy hanging out with her a lot. I have classes with her and would eat lunch TGT. Recently, we've been talking about our crushes and appearances, etc. She asked me if she looks above AVG or pretty. I don't think she's ugly, but I wouldn't say she's pretty. Maybe a 6 on good days, but I'm afraid to tell her because she already lacks confidence. So every now and then, when she asks me, I'll just tell her she looks pretty and above AVG. She currently also have a fat crush on this guy, and I honestly don't see any hope. But I support her delusions and sometimes maybe adding more to make her believe it. I know it's a bad thing to do, but I don't want to see her getting upset again after her last heartbreak of being rejected. Story 17. Am I the AH for refusing to let my partner decide how I have to spend my gift? I live with my girlfriend, and we have been together for just under 4 years. My mum recently decided to give me £1,800. I had decided to save the majority of it, but spend some of it on things for myself. I decided to get some new clothes, some new books, video games, and then a night away for my GF and I. After this, I would be left with around £1,300 to save. My girlfriend and I went to my mum's house at the weekend, and she mentioned the money. At this point, I hadn't told my girlfriend, so it came as a shock to her. When we got home, she asked what I was doing with the money. I told her what I had planned. She mentioned that we were saving for a house within the next 4 to 5 years, so mentioned the money would be good to go towards that. I reiterated that I had already told her how it would be spent. I said part of the money saved will go into my savings account specifically for the house, but that the majority would go into my general savings account. She said I'm not taking it seriously saving up for a house, but I just pointed out that I have been regularly putting away money all year and will continue to do so, but this was a gift and I'd like to be able to actually enjoy it. She said if I wasn't putting it towards a house, then it could pay for our holiday next March. I said no, and stated again what it was for. I reminded her that the money is a gift to me, yet she thinks she can say exactly how I should be spending it. She just said she was thinking of us, but I reminded her that the money is paying for us to go away for the night, so it's not like she's getting nothing, but she's being quite entitled. She just said she should be involved in the decision, but I disagreed as the money was a gift to me. She just said I wasn't treating her like a partner, and that we're supposed to be a couple, so she should be considered when I'm spending the money, but I just again said she was being entitled and quite selfish. Am I the AH for deciding how to spend the gift I was given? Story 18. Am I the AH for throwing a slight tantrum after my mom made me pay for something for my sister? I, 17F, have been working hard for 3 weeks, collecting cans and bottles to sell for money for my grad night trip. Today, I finally went with my mom to sell all the bottles, not the cans, I've collected, and for my effort, I got $23 whole, just for me. My mom, 53F, also sold the bottles she's collected. This will be important later. After selling all the bottles, we went to pick my younger sister, 16F, from school. She had $20 and wanted to buy the new Hunger Games book that came out just this day, March 18th. So we went to the closest Barnes & Noble, and she got the book Sunrise on the Reaping. It was $30 and she only had $20. I didn't notice and wasn't paying attention. I was busy playing with a cute bunny toy when my mom called my name, and I was so confused. My mom had gotten $26 from the bottles and cans she sold, so she had money, and yet asked me to help my sister pay for the book. Now, normally I wouldn't mind, but I had spent 3 weeks going to my teachers and taking their bottles, picking the bottles from the streets in front of people. I have severe social anxiety, but I bared through it all for the money. And here my mom was telling me to give my hard-earned cash to my sister so that she could buy the book. I tried to protest, but she wasn't having it. I was devastated. I didn't want to hand over my money. After a small and short accidental tantrum, eventually we reached an agreement that she would pay me back the money. It still hurt, but whatever, at least I would get my money back. But now she's mad at me for embarrassing her. I understand her. I really do. I am 17 after all, but she isn't considering how embarrassed I was. I isn't considering my feelings. So am I, the AH. Update. For anyone who was curious or just wanted to know, I wasn't kicking and screaming, yelling that it's not fair. I was standing with my mouth wide open in shock while telling my mom no. Also, my sister is innocent in this. She didn't know what was going to happen. And my mom does this thing where as long as you cover the majority of the cost, or you pay her back, she will help cover the rest. So please no hate for my sister. Story 19. Am I the AH for taking my husband's chair to recycling? Need a reality check on two situations here. Situation 1. We agreed to get rid of a broken wooden garden chair after hubby's attempts to repair were unsuccessful. We're talking weathered wood, broken at different parts, unusable. Where we live, you can ask the administration to pick up your old furniture for free. You just have to wait around 2 weeks. You're not allowed to store your stuff on the street until it gets picked up. When I offered to request this service, hubby said he could break the chair into pieces and just throw it into the trash. 2 days later, I see the chair on the street. Hubby says, maybe someone would still want it and just takes it with them? I am deeply embarrassed that our trash sits there in the street. Hubby refuses to take it back and claims he can do what he wants with his stuff. Yes, it is his chair. While he is at work, I bring the chair to a recycling facility which takes it for free. Hubby is livid and claims I had no right to do that as it took time, not his, and money, around €1.50 for fuel. Have I been the AH here for taking his broken chair to recycling? Situation 2. Hubby and I do have different ideas of keeping our apartment tidy. None of us is overly tidy, and since baby 2 was born, our apartment is a mess most days. However, we try to keep it tidy, and a very nice lady cleans our apartment every 3 weeks completely. She was there yesterday. This morning, hubby decides to move some of his plants from their winter quarter in our bedroom out onto the balcony. Spring is coming. Of course, he leaves some leaves and twigs on the way, and some more on the spot where they stood in our bedroom. He puts the plants on the balcony, takes his backpack, and says goodbye to leave for work. He's very much not running late. When I, holding our 4-month-old baby, ask him to clean up the leaves and twigs before he leaves, he's very annoyed and claims it's only a few. However, I tell him he cannot just make a mess and then leave, so he grudgingly cleans up, takes 2 minutes, and leaves for work. I feel it's disrespecting to make a mess, especially one that's so quickly resolved, and leave your partner with it. I do not think he expected me to clean it up for him. He just thought we'd leave it like it was, as it's only a few. Help me out here. Am I expecting too much? Story 20. Am I the AH didn't invite fiance's dad's GF children to my wedding? The fiance's dad has been on and off with his date for years. She has 2 kids from other baby daddies. These are adult children at this point. The one I know and have never liked or gotten along with, and they have caused enough problems over the last few years that don't need to be mentioned here. The other one I have met once for all of 3 minutes. The dad's GF decided to invite them to our wedding after we had already sent invites to everyone and have taken people off our lists ECT to accommodate the size we wanted to have. I did not send them invites because I do not want them at my wedding. I would never invite someone to someone else's wedding without at least asking them first. I am upset that my fiancé just decided to take her inviting her children and say nothing so as not to cause a fight with his dad and GF. Also, his dad is paying for the booze, but my family's paying for all the food. Am I the AH for not inviting them and being upset that they are coming? I took people off my list that I know don't get along with my fiancé so that our day would be as good and smooth as possible. Story 21. Am I the AH for encouraging our friend group to stop visiting a friend due to their house rules? Posted from a burner account, as quite a few people involved are on Reddit too. There is a person in our friend group who usually hosts us at her place for weekly drinks. She recently became very active in the vegan community and promotes her views a lot. We don't mind it too much, although she can be annoying at times. We usually do BYOB for the weekly drinks, and we've never had any incidents or problems. I think we're quite considerate guests, and she enjoys hosting people, so it was all fine until a month ago when she suddenly lashed out at another girl in the friend group for brining a bottle of Bailey's to the weekly drinks. She was bluntly rude to the girl and made her pretty uncomfortable because I don't want any dairy in my glasses, no matter how much you will wash them after. We were like, okay, whatever, your glasses, so you get to decide. But afterwards I've asked everybody if they'd prefer me to host from now on. Everyone was uncomfortable about the situation and we decided that I'd be hosting from now on. It's been a month since then, and the original host, OH Smiley Face, seems quite upset. I think she really enjoyed her role as a host and valued it quite a bit. So IDK wondering if that seemed like a good decision. On one hand, she has the right to set the rules in her place and she's upset now. On the other, it seemed really petty, and the rude reaction was over the top. Story 22. Am I the AH for not reminding my fiancé that stoves are hot? Last night, my fiancé, 31 meters, and I, 30F, were winding down our days getting ready to make dinner. Together in the kitchen, I popped the chicken in the oven. Also in the oven was our cast iron pan. We go back to our respective video games. And then when the chicken was getting closer to finished, I go out to the kitchen to start on veggies. I take the now 400 degrees cast iron out of the oven, turn on the stove, and plop some butter in there while I turn my back and start cutting veg. My fiancé comes out, asking what it is that he needs to do. I say I just need these veggies cut, which I was actively doing, and he goes to give the cast iron pan a shake to move the butter around. Yay, the 400 degrees iron handle, he grabbed it. It was less than a second, no lasting damage, but definitely burned his fingers. First degree. Now the question becomes, was I the asshole for not adequately warning him about the hot cast iron? More importantly, I am refusing more than 50% blame for the incident. To me, the cast iron handles will regularly get hot when using it on the stovetop, but obviously this was way hotter than usual hot, so I can't say that I would grab it with reckless abandon, like my lovely fiancé did. He claims I should at least take majority blame, 51%/49% minimum, but he thinks more like 60%/40%. Additionally, my back was turned, I didn't see him reach for the pan, or I would have warned him. We went back and forth on the percent blame for a long while last night, and we can't decide. Obviously, Reddit is the best place to go to solve relationship disputes. So am I the AH? Edit. Thank you all, my fiancé and I were so excited to post this and have our relationship ripped to shreds. We turned it into date night at a local pizza place, played AITA bingo, and have loved all the comments. As always, these comments are rife with misreadings of the post. He had no idea I just took the pan out of the oven. Heating the cast iron in the pan is actually ideal over our shitty stovetop, and you're all right, and I should get one of those silicone handles. Thanks for the laughs, we had such a fun day. Reddit calling my relationship exhausting has been the HI light of my week. He accepts his idiot badge proudly. Story 23. Am I the AH for asking if my BF has slept with his female best friend before? Me and my BF have been dating for about 6 months. He has a female best friend. Recently, I found out that they've slept together in the past. When I say I found out, it's because I asked him because of an anxious gut feeling, and he reluctantly said yes. However, from our conversation, it sounded like he wasn't planning on telling me this at all, to avoid upsetting me. This made me feel worse, as I would have felt like an idiot hearing this from another person for the first time or much later down the track. There is also another female friend that was supposed to visit him a few months back and sleep on his couch. Again, I had to actually name this person and ask him if they have a sexual history together, and again, he reluctantly said yes. I'm not sure how to feel about the fact that he's still in close contact with these women, and that it seems like he had no real intention of telling me this. Before we were official, I was very forthcoming with him about some things from my past that were difficult for me to talk about. But I did this so everything was laid on the table and he could make a decision whether to stay or go. I don't feel that this level of being forthcoming and honesty was reciprocated, and makes me wonder if there is more he has not told me. I also said if I knew this early on, I don't think I would have stayed, as I know this is something I'm not very comfortable with, and now I'm hurt over it, which I could have avoided. He says he wants to spend his life with me and he's willing to chat about it, but I can tell he doesn't really understand why this bothers me so much. AITA for asking him about this, or should he have told me, seeing as he, quote, wants to spend his life with me. Story 24. Am I the AH for not letting my dad's GF walk through the front door that's in my room when she was upset? 23 meters, live with my dad, his GF, when my dad hasn't kicked her out after one of their spats, and my youngest brother for the past 3 or 4 years. We recently moved into a new house around August of 2023, and my new room is like a mudroom, but we only use it as a bedroom for me, but it has the front door, which is fine. BC, my family only uses the back door really, and I can just grab whatever food or packages are delivered and distribute them. Anyways, my dad's GF, let's call her Stacy, 34F, and my dad always get into arguments when he's drunk. We have a small house, so she has nowhere to go but outside when they argue or their closet. Well, sometimes my dad is on the back porch drinking with my uncles, and even though they will ignore her when she walks through them to go around the house to sit on the front steps, she would rather go through the front door. Well, since the front door is in my room, Stacy needs to ask, since why no privacy and things, and BC, I would have to move a bunch of things and leave the door and screen door unlocked and open for her, and she always does ask. I normally let her, but a few months ago when this incident happens, she asks me and I said no. BC, I just didn't want to have to move all my stuff, and I was stressed and wanted to have personal convos with my friends without worrying she's snooping. She likes to eavesdrop and had stolen my sister's GF's things when my sis and her GF lived with us. Also, I have anxiety of leaving the front door unlocked and open, PTSD things, which increased with my stress state. Anyways, when I said no, she cursed me out and said I was being inconsiderate before storming out of my room and almost slamming the door. My friend said I wasn't an asshole, and that it was my room so I have the right to say no, and it's just my people-pleasing personality making me feel guilty. Yet Stacy didn't talk to me for almost a month after, and our relationship is still strained. I'm internally torn, so tell me, Reddit, am I the AH? Story 25. Am I the AH for telling my girlfriend's mom to shut the hell up? I'll keep this short and sweet. Me and my GF have been dating for 2.5 years, and last Friday her family had their annual family reunion. Obviously I was invited. I showed up around 8 p.m. Me and my GF went and sat down on the couch and began watching TV with her sisters and cousins. When her mother asked to come help pass around the beer and drinks to her family members who were outside in the backyard, which she did with no complaints, after my GF did what her mother asked her to do, she sat by me again, and out of absolutely nowhere her mother yells her name and tells her to hurry up and grab the rest of the beers. My GF responded saying, "Mom, calm down, no need to raise your voice." Her mother then responds with, "Well, I have to raise my voice with you because you're a lazy bitch." Immediately my GF's face went pale and I could tell she was extremely embarrassed. So I stood up and told her mother, "No problem, let my GF's name sit down, I'll pass the drinks around." Basically trying to peacekeep, and she proceeds to tell me, "No, GF's name here is gonna do it. She needs to learn to stop being a lazy whore." At this point we were all shocked. This had came out of nowhere. So I told her mother that she needed to relax and her behavior was unacceptable. Her mom looked me dead in my eyes and said, "What are you gonna do about it? It's my daughter. I'll call her whatever I want." At this point, I'm getting a little agitated. I place the drinks down and tell her mom she needs to shut the hell up and stop talking to my GF like that. Next thing I know, me and my GF are being told to leave, which we did immediately. My GF's mood was destroyed for the rest of the night, and I couldn't bear seeing her like that. I guess I'm kind of wondering if I overstepped a little bit. Story 26. Am I the AH for telling my coworker to freshen up for an important event? Throw away account since the people involved use Reddit. I, 32M, work at a company with the occasional events. I take them as chances to network with people from other companies, and so on. My coworker, 33M, who we'll call Ben, is pretty scruffy, showing up to work in the same outfit he wore the previous day, and even sleeping at his desk sometimes. I've never interacted with him one-on-one per se, but we've been on the same projects and I'm friendly with him. Here is where the issue is. Recently, there was a company event, and for once, Ben didn't really participate or speak about it beforehand, so most of us assumed he wasn't going. I didn't expect him to come, of course, but he did in the most unprofessional outfit. He was wearing wrinkled clothes and colors that didn't match, like he rolled out of bed. He walked up to my circle and we locked eyes, and I joked that he should have freshed up a bit to an event like this, and there were some chuckles, but everyone was mostly silent. He soon walked away, and my other coworker pulled me aside and told me that I was way out of line, and her and my colleagues think that I shouldn't have spoken about his attire, especially since I don't know him very well. I thought I was just making a joke to lighten the mood. I haven't seen him since, and he's been actively avoiding me. Mostly everyone in my circle is expecting me to apologize to Ben, AITA, for making a joke. Edit. I understand how the joke wasn't a joke at all now, and I'll be apologizing to Ben at work tomorrow. Story 27. Am I the AH for refusing to give my coworker rides to work? I, M19, work with a friend, also M19. I got him a job at the small company where I worked. When I first recommended him to my boss, it was because I thought it would be a temporary position over the Christmas rush. It was not. My main problem comes from the fact that he doesn't have a driver's license. I was okay with the idea of driving him to and from work for a couple of months, even though he has a habit of always being a couple of minutes late. This isn't a huge deal at our company, because we get paid hourly for a job that doesn't have a set time frame. Lately, though, he's been consistently at least 10 minutes late. While it's not a big deal for my boss, I hate sitting in my car in front of his house for that long. I like to get work over with as soon as possible, and while those 10 minutes aren't going to change my life, I'd rather get 10 extra minutes at home than sitting in a car. Today I made up my mind that I wasn't going to ignore his tardiness. I texted him 20 minutes beforehand to ask if he would be ready in 20 minutes. He said yes, and I knew it was probably a slight exaggeration, so I took my time leaving the house. He got a good extra 5 to 10 minutes. Then, when I got to his house, I texted him to tell him I was there. No reply. 10 minutes later, he finally appears. Usually he starts telling me about his day and I kind of get over my anger, but this time I stuck to what I told myself and let him know that I didn't want to drive him anymore. I wasn't rude, I didn't yell or anything, I just said, "I'm sorry, I don't want to drive you to work anymore because you're always late." He started arguing, saying that it wasn't his fault and he was busy. In the conversation, I also mentioned that things would be different if he wasn't old enough to get a license, and his parents hadn't promised him a car as soon as he got the driver's license. He told me that every time I brought up the driver's license thing, it stresses him out. He kind of phrased it like he thought I brought it up out of concern, which I do every once in a while, but this time it was because he's making me late when he could very well get a driver's license and drive himself. After I made my feelings known, the car ride was quiet. Then at work it was quiet. On the way home it was also quiet. IK shocker. So basically I think he got mad about the fact that I was done waiting around for him. I really don't think I'm in the wrong here, but maybe I'm missing something. Story 28. Am I the AH for telling my mom her brain injury is her fault? My 17M mom, 46F, has been on drugs almost her entire life and has very often chose them over me and my older siblings. Her drug addiction got so bad I forced my dad, 56M, to kick her out of the house 2 years ago because I felt unsafe. My mom has been very bad since then, often harassing me about seeing her, and I have multiple times. However, she often threatened my dad with going to court, so he would make me see her. My mom has also called me things to my dad over the phone when I've refused to speak to her, such as shitty human being and little C*NT. Eventually, in June of last year, my mom ended up getting back on drugs again and ended up asking my dad to pick her up and let her stay over. I refused to let him, and so he said no. That night, the police showed up at our door and told us my mom had been hit by a car. I got onto the phone with my grandma, 70F, over the next couple of days when she was able to visit her. My grandma tried to manipulate me into thinking my dad was at fault because he forced her out of the house and refused to let her stay over. But she also then told me about how she'd pull the plug if my mom didn't look like she'd pull through. Days my grandma kept mentioning pulling the plug on my mom as if she was almost itching to finally be rid of her problematic daughter, which made me feel quite upset because she wasn't helping. Eventually, after my grandma forced my dad to take me to see my mom in hospital, my relationship with her seemed to not improve at all as she was very adamant about me seeing her despite the years of trauma I experienced at her hand. My mom constantly called me and me alone despite the fact she had 4 other children she could see, calling at all hours in the night. When my mom was a bit better in September, she asked when I'd see her again and why I wasn't visiting her despite her brain injury, because I'd stopped visiting her at the hospital because she was getting better. I was still mad at her, and it was quite painful to see her like she was, as that was a reminder to me that my mom picked drugs over family yet again, which made me even angrier. After so many weeks of nagging me even when I asked her to stop, in a moment of anger I blurted out that I'd never see her, and her brain injury was her fault because she chose to get on drugs again. Before I could take it back or say sorry, my mom hung up on me. Not long after that, I got a message from my grandma telling me that I was a cruel and awful human being. This was in September, but it's still eating me up inside even after somewhat sorting things out with my mom. Am I the AH? Edit. Just to clear up some confusion, my mom has been to rehab several times, even before my birth, but she has always stopped going and has always ended up back on drugs no matter who tried to help her. The debate doesn't end here. Hit subscribe for more controversial AITAH tales.